loneliness and isolation is a problem according to society. If everybody is wrong, it's most likely it's your sense, your lens of perception. But generalization is how the world functions. There are exceptions, but in general, it's how the world functions. If I strike a tiger, it will bite my hand. In general, it might be a domestic one, but I'm not willing to find out. In general. So it's good to walk in the consciousness of stereotype. You are better crossing the road when you see a guy dressed in a clown suit with a bright red axe chopping wood. For your safety, I don't care what anyone else says on the internet, for your safety, it would be wise to cross over. Generalization is how the world functions. So if we extrapolate it to the conversation at hand, loneliness and isolation. Loneliness in general is seen as a consequence of character flaw, e.g., you're a gossiper, e.g., you have social anxiety. But sometimes you get to a point where loneliness is a prerequisite for success. Loneliness is meant to isolate and drown out all the previous opinions of society. Let's take my life for instance. The reason you fuck with my content is because of its original opinion. That uniqueness is a consequence of embracing myself, embracing who I am. The problem with most people today, they say, oh, we lack confidence. No. You lack authenticity. When you're authentic, you're confident by default. Confidence is a byproduct of being authentic. Think back to the last time you were most confident. You didn't care what someone else said. You were just speaking from the bottom of your heart. It's most likely you were sharing a topic that truly interests you, or you were talking about football or something you saw online. The passion communicated was immense. So tonight I'm going to try and help you recreate that same image, only consciously. Because most of you have felt confidence before. It's an unconscious gift you tapped into. So tonight will be all about expounding it such that you can harness consciously. Embracing your uniqueness. And if you've not seen my video on uniqueness, you should check it out. But then, if you look at the world leaders, the biggest entrepreneurs, people whom you see today as great, they embrace their uniqueness, and as a consequence, they are their self. They are so unique that the public is so interested that mimicry is inevitable. There are people you see today, and you think to yourself, I can do that. I think that way. This is what I want to do. But you don't fucking do it because you're too busy conforming to what is acceptable to society, what works, what is acceptable, an opinion that is generally accepted. But the people who make waves, the people who do something with their lives are the ones who test the water. They don't test the water, they fucking jump in. They share the opinions. They share the belief. Muhammad stood in Mecca with an opinion that would have gotten most killed, but he stood there, not with an army, not because he had billions of dollars in his bank, but with nothing than raw belief. That Elon today, who works 16 hours every single day, didn't consider himself a workaholic or the different terms associated with that kind of lifestyle. He truly believed this is what is meant for him. Don't sit down there and let someone drown out your uniqueness. Uniqueness, loneliness. Machiavelli wrote The Prince in isolation, in his farm, far from the politics. And now that philosophy has outlived him. 2,000 years later, still relevant. For as long as you defer yourself, for as long as you conform to what is acceptable, for as long as you try as much as possible to avoid that queer, weird side of you and suppress it and try to be like everyone else, there's no rising for you. No rising. And as always, my friends, accept yourself, believe in who you are. Do not try and get feedback. As I shared in the video on uniqueness, the problem with most people is that they are so unique, they have no idea how the public would react to this new figure. So you take feedback based upon your action, which is one of the worst way to live. Because what works here might not work there. If you make a joke, a height joke, to me, I probably would laugh it off considering I'm a 6'4" millionaire. Conversely, make it to the average guy and you might live there with a bloody nose. So the same joke, the same person, but different individual, which produce different outcome. So living a life based on feedback solely, you always end up in the middle. That's why I don't play around with labels, extrovert, introvert. The reality of it is there are times where you want to be more introverted. There are times where you want to be more extroverted. There are times where you just don't want to say anything. So stop trying to confine yourself to labels. I try as much as possible when I go on platforms to not fit into a description or a presupposed motion of being. Oh, Ifeanyi is the intelligent guy, and all of a sudden, Ifeanyi can't laugh, Ifeanyi can't be funny, Ifeanyi can't make jokes, Ifeanyi can't laugh at himself. Every single thing is geared at that description of you being intelligent. It's a terrible way to live. So be yourself, accept that uniqueness, be weird. And you notice, once you accept that version of you, that discrepancy of you, and being different, confidence is the natural state. Trying to chant affirmations and adopt external things would only leave you confused, dejected, and poor. But once you be yourself, irregardless of the physical things, you don't care, you'll be fine. As always, my friends, a pleasure speaking to you. I'll see you in the next one.